ultimately, and I want to stress this, good multi-generational worship is just good worship, right? So multi-generational worship should speak to everybody in the room.
Memorable and meaningful worship, which is a phrase from Dr. Marcia McPhee, is something that is memorable and meaningful no matter what your age is.
It doesn't need to be a big play with, balloons and blowing bubbles and, none of that needs to happen. It just needs to be interactive, and it needs to be full of vitality.
It's experienced differently by everyone who comes into the worship space. And so what we need to do is get people in conversation about what's meaningful to them and sharing across those differences, so that instead of being annoyed when the special music lasts too long, we can think, this special music is longer than I would like, but I know that for my neighbor right here, this is the most important part of the service. And that person is taking away something that is so special, I would not take it away from them. And if we can find that kind of graciousness with each other, that opportunity to make space for others' needs, knowing that ours also will be met at some other point in the service or maybe next week, we can really start to create the community ethic that we want to bring to worship and that we want to take out of worship.
Oh my Lord, what shall I do? What shall I do?
In 16 years of trying to do this work, I have 4 important things for you to know. One thing to know about creating multi-generational worship is that you must expect to throw away your script. The second thing about creating effective multi-generational worship is that we need to expect mistakes. As leaders in the pews, we need to expect mistakes, but also miracles. As worship leaders, here's really good news. Expect for preparing effective multi-generational worship to take twice as long. That goes along with also being prepared to throw that script away. Everybody in the worship preparation team needs to be prepared to put twice as much time into preparing for a service that you may have to adjust in some ways on the fly. But finally, the thing I've learned after all these years is that allowing oneself as a leader in the pews, as a participant, as a parent, as a person who needs and seeks quiet on that Sunday morning, that our great gift is when we allow ourselves to trust the people and the spirits and the gifts and the graces present. Multi-generational worship is worth all of that work and more.
Somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? What shall I do?
I'm going to ask you to do something unusual this morning. Put off your shoes. And if you're feeling adventurous, you can put off your socks as well. Sit quietly in your chair for a minute and feel your feet without shoes. Wiggle your toes. Imagine, if you will, what it would feel like to walk or move those feet on sand. And I invite you to leave those feet uncovered while we tell you a story.
Moses was raised as the grandson of the Pharaoh, but he still thought of himself as a Hebrew. Once, when he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave, Moses tried to stop the Egyptian, and in the struggle, the Egyptian was killed. This made the Pharaoh very angry, and Moses had to go into hiding. While he was in hiding, he married and he started a family. Once, while he was tending his father-in-law's sheep, he looked off in the distance and he saw a bush that was burned without being consumed. Moses went closer to look at this amazing bush up the side of a mountain. And as he came closer, God called to him out of the bush, "Moses, Moses." Moses answered, "Here I am." Then God said, "Remove the sandals from your feet. Take off your shoes, for the place where you are standing is holy ground." And Moses covered his face because he was afraid to look at God. God told Moses that the suffering of the Hebrews at the hands of the Egyptians had not gone unnoticed. God had heard the Hebrews' cries. Indeed, God had come to deliver the Hebrews from the Egyptians, to bring them to the land flowing with milk and honey. God was sending Moses to the Pharaoh to free the Hebrew people from Egypt. But Moses protested. "Who am I that I should go to the Pharaoh and bring the Hebrew people out of Egypt?" He reminded God that he stuttered and he wouldn't be able to speak well. God assured Moses that his speech would be taken care of. Moses still begged God to send someone else. Finally, God got a little angry and told Moses that Moses' brother Aaron would be there to speak for him, but Moses had to go. So Moses and his family went to Egypt. 4 times he had tried to get out of going, but he believed it was God who sent him. And so he went.
It sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do?
Take off your shoes. This is holy ground. Let go. Let go of what covers your vulnerable spots. Take a risk. Children, youth, and adults need to be willing to take off their shoes, tell their story, listen to the stories of others, let go of their preconceived notions about one another, recognize where they are connected, how their stories are woven. It is in the story that God resides. Take off your shoes. This is holy ground. You must know yourselves as inhabitants of paradise, of this good and difficult soil. Paradise is here. Paradise is on this earth. Paradise is in this lifetime. This is holy ground. You are standing or sitting on the ground you have inherited. It is beneath your feet. You are called to build the kingdom of love and justice. Listen for your name. Listen for the call. And it came. Amen. Take off your shoes. This is holy ground. You cannot build this kingdom by yourself. Nor can you build it with only the people you feel comfortable with, the people who look like you, who talk like you, who think like you, who wear the same clothes and vote for the same guy. You cannot build this kingdom with only the people who are born within the same decade, who listen to the same music, who dance the same way. The people in this room are divine manifestations of the holy. The children who are not here, the youth, the adults, the elders, the ancestors, and the holy resides also in the relationship between us. It is what connects us to one another. And my friends, I need to tell you that Unitarian Universalists are not the whole of God's children. We are not. Sorry. The people outside these doors are all divine manifestations of the holy. The Christians, the Buddhists, the Hindus, the Jews, the Muslims, the Mormons, the atheists, the churched, the unchurched. The people on the streets are all divine manifestations of the holy, the Democrats, the Republicans, the accountants, the homeless, the school teachers, the Wall Street executives, the prisoners, the job seekers, the social workers, the window washers. How will you find a way to share your spiritual gifts with each of these people? How will you? Feel the ground beneath your feet. It doesn't just belong to you, my friends. It belongs to all of us. It belonged to the people who came before us, and it belongs to our children and to our children's children. Take off your shoes. This is holy ground. Who am I that I should go to the Pharaoh and bring the Hebrew people out of Egypt? Who am I? Moses asks. Who am I? Who am I? If they ask, what is the name of the one who has sent you? What shall I say? And God responds, I am who I am. I am has sent me to you. I am who I am. God says, I be, I live. The living God resides in you, in the bumping, the jostling, and the moving of you, in the part of you that can't stay still, in the part of you that is still. What will you say when they ask, who has sent you? How will you answer? Who are you? Dig deeper. Who are you? Who are you? What stories make up the whole of who you are? How are your stories wrapped up and connected to mine? How are your stories wrapped up and connected to the ancestors, to the people not yet born? Let go of who you think you are and who you think I am, and dig for who you know you are and who you know I am. And dig deeper still to find the sacred connection between you and me, between you and us, between you and the world outside. Draw the circle wide, and then draw it wider still. Take off your shoes. This is holy ground. Hush. Hush. Somebody's calling your name. You are called to build a kingdom of love and justice right here, right now. Its construction began before you got here, before your name was called, and it starts with you again. This isn't holy ground unless we make it so. We make this ground holy by taking risks, by hushing up, by listening for the call of the divine. We make this ground holy by recognizing the divine in everything and everyone in this room and outside this room. We make this ground holy by remembering we are connected, and by taking action to make that connection stronger, more real. We make this ground holy by loving and doing acts of love. We make this ground holy by binding our liberation up in one another. Take off your shoes. This is holy ground. How will you make it so? Water is a symbol of our shared connection with one another and with all beings. We are made of water. We need water to live. Plants and animals and the interconnected web of all existence need water to live. We bless you now with water as a simple reminder of who you really are, inhabitants of paradise named and called to do works of love in this lifetime, possessing unique gifts that can be used to build the world we dream about. In the following ritual, we are going to ask that you write your name on an index card that hopefully you all have, along with an answer to this question. What gifts of the Spirit do you feel called to share with the world? And once you write down your answer, the usher will ask your row to come forward to one of our 4 water stations. Don't think too much about this. It's just whatever comes, and don't write an essay, not necessary, but just what first comes to mind, what first pops into your head, what you feel called to bring to the world.
Courage and tenacity. May this water on my hand, on your head, may this water you drink each day remind you of that courage and tenacity, your connection to others, and how that gift blesses all those you meet. Go forth in peace.
Your gift of the Spirit is fostering deep, joyful, loving, and meaningful connections among the generations. May this water remind you of your connection to all living beings, and may you go forth and bless this world with its history.
We included a ritual in the programming because we know that every time we do one in our congregation, it's just phenomenally powerful, but had underestimated how touched people would be in this setting. You know, here we are in this huge cavernous conference room and very concerned about how you create a sense of intimacy. But I think that hunger for a sensory experience, a full bodily experience, and a very personal experience of feeling a blessing and being invited to take who you are and what your gifts are into the world is something that is so rare in our lives. And there are many ways that we can reclaim ritual as a way, especially for every generation, to have a sense of full participation in worship and a sense of blessing of our very bodies as we are together in community.